Welcome back to another video with On Point Politics, and today I'm going to be talking about the one thing that people don't understand about the 2024 presidential election. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to get more information on all things polling from the #1 source on YouTube. Now, we're going to look at this, and this is something really interesting that people are not talking about. National approval rating tends to correlate very well to a national vote share. So if we go to Biden's favorable and unfavorability rating on October 21st, right before the presidential election, Biden was at 50.6% of the national popular vote and 44% unfavorable. So he was a plus 6.6 spread, right? So he's at 50.6. And we go to Donald Trump, right? And he basically comes over here, and we see in 2020, on that same day, he's at 45%. Now the thing is that incumbents tend to outperform their approval rating by about a point. That's usually what tends to happen. And so if you were to average out that error, right, national approval rating tends to correlate to the national vote share, and incumbents usually on average tend to outperform their approval rating by a point. If you gave a point to Donald Trump, so he would be at 46, Biden would be at 50.6%. You could have predicted a popular vote of plus Biden 4.6 in the 2020 election, which is the exact approval rating that ended up happening almost exactly. Trump ended up getting 46.9%. Biden ended up getting 51.3%. But Biden won the national popular vote by 4.5 points. Literally 0.1 percentage points off from what it actually was. And so the thing is, now, for whatever reason, the favorability rating between the candidates, Kamala Harris's approval rating has seeming to completely spike up, but Trump's are also going up. And this is from the latest Harvard X poll, so the Harvard Harris poll. And we see Joe Biden is still down in the gutter quite a bit. Joe Biden is down -12, which is kind of aligned with what his approval rating is. But Harris seems to be tied in favorability alongside Trump as well. And we could take this at face value and add 2 to 3 points for third parties, and he'd be up by 4 in the popular vote. But the problem with that is that if you ask voters, do you approve or disapprove the job that Donald Trump did as president, you have Trump being up by plus 10 percentage points. And when people vote, people are not necessarily going to vote on Donald Trump's current favorability rating. They're going to go back and ask themselves, okay, how did Donald Trump do as president? Because that's how I'm going to vote again. And if Trump has a 10 plus favorable in the approval, if you were to find the spread between 54% and 47%, that's plus 7. And if you were to account for third parties, which usually affect the incumbent party, that is a plus 9 to 10 point victory. That puts states like Colorado, Illinois, and even to an extent probably New Jersey in play at that point. You would end up having multiple states that would basically end up being in play. And Trump being up by 9 or 10 points in the popular vote would pretty much look like this. This is basically what you would get. And Trump would be winning Georgia by 12, North Carolina by like 13. He'd be winning Arizona by like 11 or 12 points. Nevada by like 13, 14. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania would be anywhere from 11 to 13 points. Minnesota would probably be like a 4-point win. Same thing with New Mexico. Virginia would be like 3 points. New Hampshire would be like maybe even a likely margin, maybe like 3 or 4. Maine at large would be like 2 or 3. And Nebraska's second at that point would probably even be in the likely Republican column. And states like Colorado, Illinois, New Jersey would probably be within a couple points. Colorado would probably be a little bit under 5, possibly like a 3-point win. Illinois would probably end up being like a 3 or 4-point win. And New Jersey would probably be like a 1 to 2 point victory for Kamala Harris in this scenario. So it is definitely possible for Donald Trump to win in an electoral college landslide. And although candidates do not win through the popular vote is a good indicator of what is going to happen nationally. Even states like Oregon may even fall into this column. If we look at the 2020 results, if we were to find how all the states lean on a partisan way, this is basically what would happen in terms of that shift. And if you're shifting from a 4.5 national environment all the way to R plus 10, you basically get a 14.5 point shift on average in every single state, which puts Colorado in play, that puts Illinois in play, and New Jersey in play, especially the fact that Illinois and New Jersey have been trending to the right. If you were to shift the national environment 14.5 points to the right, it would be a really big problem. Because look, New Jersey, that already has been trending to the right, would be within striking distance. Same thing with Illinois. Even Illinois would probably actually end up flipping to Trump at that point. If it was a 10-point victory, Trump would probably even pick up Illinois and New Jersey at that point. Even states like New Mexico would probably be in the likely Republican column. Minnesota would probably even be in the likely column. Same thing for New Hampshire and Maine, as well as Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. So even with trends, you would probably still have, Donald Trump winning these by lean margins, but the former president would basically be within striking distance of winning. Maybe New Hampshire and Maine, as well as like New Mexico, would probably be likely at that point, and maybe Colorado is sort of a little bit competitive. Maybe it votes 11, 12 points to the right of the nation. But at that point, you would basically have the former president doing extremely well. You could even argue that North Carolina would even be safe at that point, to be honest. You could have a pretty large victory in the Electoral College if you actually look at Donald Trump's callback approval rating, which is something that we're actually going to measure. And that's probably why in our samples we have Donald Trump up 8 points in a head-to-head matchup, because in our sample we don't try to skew any results, and voters are probably thinking to themselves, okay, hey, what is Donald Trump's recall approval? If we can measure his recall approval and find Harris's approval rating, we'll be able to accurately predict the election. And so in our next national poll, I'll definitely be looking to see if we can go ahead and find the recall approval for Donald Trump, because that's going to be a better way to accurately measure what would possibly happen in the 2024 presidential election as of right now. That's why this election is so uncertain, because we don't know if voters are going to measure by Donald Trump's current favorability. We don't know if they're going to measure by his recall approval. A lot of voters are seemingly thinking back retrospectively, and that puts 214 practically electoral votes, even around 222 electoral votes in play, depending on how the electorate basically looks at the election. You have about 222 electoral votes up for grabs. If Donald Trump, his recall approval is super high and Harris is even in the mid, 40s, you would probably have states like Oregon, Connecticut, Delaware, possibly even flipping. But if people rate Donald Trump's approval rating based off of right now, you may get an election where Trump probably wins, Minnesota and the regular swing states and loses the rest. So that's why this election is so uncertain, because we're not sure if every single voter is looking at it in a retrospective way or thinking about it in the present tense. But the thing is, people thinking about it in the present tense are more than likely voting for Democrats. That's probably what would be happening. All the people who are thinking, oh, I'm going to compare my options, which would probably more than likely be those independent voters, and why I think Donald Trump may be able to do so well with them. Trump could probably pick up states like New Mexico, Virginia, possibly even pick up New Jersey and Illinois if the trends end up continuing there to the right. So that is something interesting to definitely keep an eye out for as of right now. But if you guys did enjoy this quick analysis, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.